Hello. So in this video, I want to start the topic of placing single buildings on parcels, and I want to break this topic down into multiple videos. And the first video will be the preparation of parcels for the script. So this will be the result of placement of buildings on the parcels, and yeah, the first step would be just to generate parcels. Um, and as you remember, in the previous video, we covered the parcellation script, which gave us results like this one. And now, in this very short video, I want to show you how to um, apply the script in two iterations to, first of all, increase density of streets on the site. And in the second iteration, the parcellation script should give us the parcels. Okay, so you might think that the script itself already generates quite nice results, as you can see here. And by nice, I mean that all parcels look very plausible and, well, they're not, like, most of the parcels have pretty nice shape. So they're not too deep, they're not too wide, and they suit well for placement of one or maybe two buildings there. Of course, there are some exceptions, and in these cases here, let's say parcels are definitely too deep, so the usage of land here is not that optimal. And also, um, imagine that the street network which you have on your plot is not so dense as we have it here. So I try to remove some streets now, and nothing changes since yeah, because I need to re-reference my streets in Grasshopper, I think. Because here you still see all of the streets in drawn streets, even those of them which I just removed. So I need to reselect all streets without the boundary and re-reference them here in the drawn streets. And I guess I need to do the same for a tractor, because now if I move the tractor, I don't think that the tractor in Grasshopper will move, just because I internalized those data before saving the script. So I need to set one point, select this point. If I cannot select it, I need to go into Rhino, into this input panel, and change the type of point from coordinate to point. So now I can select objects in Rhino, and here we go. So here the attractor is now referenced as well. So back to our topic. Imagine that we have the street network which is not dense enough to generate parcels, like the case we have here. So now we clearly see that most of the parcels have a bad shape, and it would be quite hard to fix it just by changing those two input parameters, simply because the parcel depth cannot be manipulated anymore, since we have this capping 2 here. So meaning that we only allow 2 rows of parcels to be generated on every city block for the reasons I explained before. Yeah, so this input does not change that much. And the second input only changes the parcel width. And of course, we don't want our parcels to be too wide or too narrow. So this parameter is also kind of constant, and you cannot change it that drastically. To overcome this problem, the approach I tend to use would be to run this parcellation script in 2 iterations. So the first iteration will generate minor streets on our site, and the second iteration will run inside smaller city blocks, which result after the first iteration, and break them into parcels. So let's try to do it. Let me copy the script completely. So I'll just select the whole group and copy it to the right. Now I want to use the outputs of the first iteration as inputs of the second iteration. So please take care before, because now we have to flatten our outputs because as you see, our initial script takes a list of polylines, and our outputs used to be the data tree. Right, so now I need to flatten it so that the outputs of first iteration correspond with inputs of the second iteration. Well, the data structure of these inputs correspond to the outputs. Okay, so now I have two of identical scripts connected, one after another. So the output of the first iteration is the input of the second. And now I can tweak both of them a little bit. I will first give them some name so that I don't forget what they are doing. So this one is generating minor streets. And the second iteration generates parcels. Okay, I'm good to go now, and let me zoom in the minor streets iteration and check what I can do here. So first of all, I need some I need to remove some of the things I have here. For instance, this part with remap numbers, I don't actually need it anymore because I don't want to control the minor street density here. So if you want to control it, you can of course leave it here, but I don't want it, so I'll just remove it and replace it all with a simple panel input like this. So let me change the naming because this is not parcels. These are it's city block. No, so it's city block depth and city block width. And the second thing I want to change here is to remove this 2, which I use to cap number of rows in which I divide my city blocks. And actually, I think the preview we see here is a bit spoiled by the second iteration of script running. So you can see that some of the lines are actually the result of the second iteration of parcels. So to kind of hide it for now, I just want to select the inputs of parcels and disable them so that I don't get the preview of things I don't want to configure now. So let's focus on the minor street network. As I told you, I want to remove this 2 here, so I just remove it, and I also remove the minimum component and connect my round component directly to the divide domain. Okay, as you can see, with identical inputs of city block depth and city block width, we end up having the grid city street network, which is based on the square. And now we can of course tweak those numbers to change the dimensions of those city blocks we generate here. And for now they are definitely too small, so I want to change these numbers to something like 200 square meters by 400 meters. Because these are not parcels, these are just the secondary streets which I generate here. And I think you should, I think for each case, you should come up with your own numbers, which you enter here. But for my case, it looks pretty convincing now. So even though I don't have that many input streets, I somehow am able to control the density of streets network in any case. And let me now turn on the second iteration of the script, the parcellation, to check how it handles all these cases. And for now, you can see that my streets do not have any offset, so it's quite hard to understand which of these lines are the division in parcels and which of them act as streets. So I will create a new offset curve component in between them to give some thickness to my streets. So I want to offset my parcels, which are actually not parcels now, but city blocks. And I will connect the distance from, I don't know, -10 to 10 here, so that I can control, I can control the profile of my minor streets. I want them to be quite small, so I would end up having something like -5 or maybe -4 even. Okay, and the results I can, oh yeah, you see I have to flatten them because they used to be stored as data tree. And now I connect them further to the parcels. I can turn off some previews, and let us see the result. So I think it is now looking a bit more understandable which parts of these are parcels and which parts are minor streets and the major streets as well. So I can probably leave it like this. Only thing I want to change is the parcel depth of my parcellation, because currently you see that most of the parcels spread along the whole city block, and maybe I want to give it some smaller value, like 50 meters. Yeah, and I think it looks pretty nice. And this attractor here is still connected, so I can now move it, and by changing position of the attractor, also control the size of parcels in my city blocks. And since my city blocks became smaller now, because I generated some additional streets, you can also see that my the size of parcel changes more gradually. You don't have this bigger jump of the parcel size. Okay, this looks nice, and I think I will just leave it as it is now. And yeah, in the next video I will start working on the same file, and I will finally jump to the main part of placement of buildings on the parcels. And yeah, I'll see you there.